All right, so for apologies for being a little late here today, we will start the, just for an idea of timeline here, we will start the study session here after doing roll call, and then we will, in between the study session, we will take a 5-minute recess between study session and council meeting, okay? Just so everybody has an understanding where we're at. So I hereby call the study session to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mayor Beck?
Here.
Vice Mayor Dunn?
Here.
Vice Mayor Pro Tem Edwards?
Here.
Councilmember Patina?
Here.
Councilmember Finn?
Here.
Councilmember Crawford?
Here.
Councilmember Schaefer?
Present.
Council Youth Liaison Shrivastava? And Council Youth Liaison Whitstein?
Present.
You have a quorum, Mayor.
Thank you. Our only item on the study session agenda today is a presentation from staff on the parity of parks across Peoria. I will now turn it over to staff for the presentation.
Just go ahead.
Very good. Thank you, Mayor, Manager Darwin. Tonight we are, you got the clicker? Okay, good, thank you. Tonight we wanted to revisit an item that came up during the last budget session. In particular, there was a pretty robust conversation regarding what I would refer to as park parity, but really we're talking about kind of the equality or the comparison of parks between different parts of the city. And so if you hear me use the term park parity, that's kind of my shortcut language to reference that. But there were some really concerning elements of this disparate quality across the city. So tonight, while it was kind of a broad conversation, we really wanted to narrow in and get some of that finer point on this conversation. So I've turned to Chris Calcaterra and his team to first give us kind of a review of the status, give us a snapshot of what's going on in the community. Second, they took it to a higher level and developed a neighborhood park condition index. Think of, we have a pavement condition index. This is trying to do the same thing. Really great idea. Also recognize, though, that it's new, so this is something that we're just developing, just putting into place. With that information, we want to look at that comparison and understand not only what's the status today, how do we make sure, how do we monitor it on a periodic basis to say, okay, from week to week, from time to time, what is the condition of the park and is it staying consistent? The last part is to discuss the methodology for ensuring or achieving that parity going forward and making sure that it stays consistent. The piece that I would ask your favor with is the idea that hold questions to the end. We got about 20 minutes. It's very exciting material, and I think a full conversation could happen on just about every slide we put in here. So maybe I'm being overselling this, but I think it is really good material today. And lastly, like I said, this is the start of the conversation, not the end of the conversation, and it really is bringing to light, I think, a new perspective of how we should look at our parks and compare just where we're at and what we're doing. So with that, let me turn it over to Parks and Recreation Director Chris Calcaterra.
Thank you, Kevin. Mayor, council members, it was disconcerting to hear those previous disparate discussions as well, knowing that our major mission of the department is to maintain the aging assets in the neighborhood park system that have been entrusted to our professional team. Over the past 5 years, we have further developed with council's approval to protect those park amenities by implementing the CIP Parks programs that you're familiar with. These programs have enabled the team to renovate and replace some of those amenities when appropriate. As part of the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board update meetings, the approach and implementation of the overall neighborhood parks prioritization plan, parks operations plan, and park condition index methodologies have all been unanimously supported. And tonight in our audience, we have our chair, Jerry Johnson, is with us tonight as well, and I want to recognize him for his work and support. The department's team members, who really have put the work in, have also collaborated to evolve this criteria of review, and evolve is the key word, for the neighborhood parks programs and overall neighborhood park amenities and assets. So how might we define comparisons between neighborhood parks? A couple of quick high-level comparison factors are the park acreage by district and population, the actual age of the neighborhood park itself. Then we look at a methodology of measuring rating factors with scores through a neighborhood parks condition index by amenities per park. And then finally, we look at the overall operational maintenance and cleanliness of the park on a routine basis. These factors are then documented by our professional maintenance team members, both in the landscape and facility maintenance areas through inspections and quality control checks. These factors then provide the lens through which we can develop a sustainable neighborhood parks program. Before we dive further into the neighborhood parks, let's briefly look at the city's 3 community parks in relation to the neighborhood parks. Our community parks, we have one in each region, southern, central, and northern, that you're familiar with, typically larger in size, serving a regional radius larger than our neighborhood park system. They accommodate larger events and programming opportunities. The destinations are amenities that people want to arrive at and travel long distances to get to. These sites have our own dedicated on-site staff to manage these larger events and opportunities. They all have urban fishing lakes that serve dual roles as an irrigation reservoir to the park site itself. Rio Vista is a bit smaller on the acreage size, but houses Peoria's only recreation center. The 37 neighborhood parks, by contrast, are less than 25 acres with fewer amenities and non-lighted passive turf areas. They serve a more localized area and typically serve multi-purpose roles for the city, such as retention basins as part of our comprehensive citywide drainage program. Now let's review the current comparison by neighborhood park acreage per district. The range of the neighborhood parks acreage is between 35 and 84 acres, which is influenced by the number of parks in each district. But the overall average acreage is approximately 8.5 acres per park. Let's see those averages by region. Here, this regional comparison, southern, central, and northern of neighborhood park acreage shows a comparison with an average per capita. You can see a 1.85 acre average per thousand for the southern region, a 1.76 average for the central region, and a 1.26 average for the northern region. This average indicates we are very comparable in park acres for our residents. Let's now look at our last factor in comparing neighborhood parks, their average age. In this chart, you can see the average year built, or average age of the parks by district. The average age of our total neighborhood park system is 24.5 years old. This chart is reflective of the very build-out of the city from south to north. This chart does not reflect any updated improvements or renovations to the park or any park amenities or features that may have occurred. As I mentioned earlier, the current park CIP programs and the Parks and Recreation team's park assessments are critical to the future success of managing the system's health and standards. I will have our Parks and Recreation Deputy Director, Mike Elliott, take it from here to discuss the plan on improving upon the baseline of the neighborhood parks comparisons with the factors we just spoke about. Mike?
Thank you, Chris. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for making yourselves available. I got maybe 2 or 3 more uses of the suit jacket before I got to get another one, so I'm glad you guys didn't push it forward anymore. So I want to start off with this slide here, which is a list of our park work orders that have been created since March of 2023, along with the average number of work orders per park per district. The reason why we started in March 2023, it was that marked the official transition of our Parks Department into our city's N4 computerized maintenance management system, which allows for park staff to more efficiently disposition our work orders. It's also important to note that this list does not include any preventative maintenance work orders, scheduled maintenance, nor customer-initiated service requests that are actually delivered through our constituent relationship manager.
I guess before you leave that, if I could just, real quick, one of the things I wanted to point out is that the prior slide talked about the age of the park, and it's really easy to assume coming off the age that the oldest parks are going to require the most number of work orders. And you could see that was kind of where we thought we were going with this, and when we came to this, we saw that the number of work orders per park were absolutely not dependent on age. And as you'll see as we dive deeper, it's because what's going on in the park is the age of the amenities varies so widely from amenity to amenity and within the park. So just because the age might be a 32-year-old park, the playground might be a 5-year-old park. The Ramadas may be 20-year-old and nearing end of life. So there's really a difference among that. And so the work orders, while we expected older parks have most work orders, it didn't necessarily pan out. And that's when we realized there's something more going on here.
That's a great point, Kevin. So the Neighborhood Parks Condition Index was created by our staff as a way to empirically assess the current condition of our park assets in order to ensure equity and consistent practices throughout the Neighborhood Parks operation team. As you may know, several years ago, the Neighborhood Parks team was bifurcated into 2 areas of operation in order to gain operational and geographic efficiencies. This index ensures uniform practices regardless of service location. The Neighborhood Parks Condition Index uses the weighted average of 5 key indices: the amenity count, the playground score, the court score, the facility score, and the operational score. Each of these indices are measured with scheduled frequency and are assigned a rating index of green, yellow, or red. While our city's neighborhood parks boast a myriad of different amenities throughout its footprint, there are 9 key amenities that make up the majority of measurable assets that our staff maintains. With regard to maintenance, our staff considers measurable assets as those that can be programmed and maintained through our prescribed maintenance program, otherwise known as the Parks Facilities Maintenance Plan. There are several other elements within our system, say facility elements such as lighting and plumbing, or furniture, fixtures, and equipment. Those are picnic tables, benches, and grills that are maintained by our staff as well. The following is a breakdown of park amenities that were identified in the previous slide within our neighborhood parks. The average amount of amenities per park per district is actually relatively close to the average of 6.4 amenities per parks system-wide. It's also important to note that the southern parks on average have more amenities per park than northern parks, which actually face topographical challenges that make it difficult to implement many of the amenities that are more prominently featured in our other parks. Some of the key considerations when measuring some of the park indices are the date of the last playground and court improvements at the parks, which is what Kevin alluded to, as well as the facility condition of our park restrooms. The information that is gathered and measured in the Neighborhood Parks Condition Index is used to prioritize amenities and their improvements via the Park Prioritization Program. Consideration is also made to the aesthetic condition of the parks to include facility painting, Ramada appearance and condition, and signage. In fact, the department recently completed a monument entry sign replacement parks-wide, replacing all of the old wooden entry signs with a more modern and intentional look, which I think came out beautifully. So going back to the Neighborhood Parks Condition Index, you can see how the different indices contribute to the overall park condition index. Although this is just a screenshot of the index, and forgive me, I just realized I have index in there like 7 times in 2 sentences, so forgive me. But the information displayed here is an updated version. The index does a great job of assessing the condition of a park and not just the age of a park. Country Meadows Park, for example, was built in 1990, but in 2021 underwent a $2.1 million renovation program through the council-approved capital improvement program. These improvements greatly improve the condition of the park, thereby increasing the park condition color. Overall, all of the city's council districts average at least a yellow condition index, with the Willow District actually averaging a yellow/green. While an average green condition across all facilities is the goal that we aspire to, the average yellow condition indices are indicative of the equitable manner in which our parks are maintained, assessed, and prioritized. There are certain considerations that do not factor into the Neighborhood Parks Condition Index due to their disparate and arbitrary nature. For example, the intensity of Ramada usage can vary from user to user and park to park and can affect a citizen's perception of the state of the Ramada. Similarly, the seasonality of when staff performs certain landscape activities, such as pruning or mowing, can also create a perceived disparity between the parks. The city's 37 neighborhood parks are maintained by 4 crews based out of Paloma Community Park and our own Municipal Operations Center that are assigned parks based on geographic density, park acreage, and the most efficient path of motion. Those landscape crews cycle through the parks monthly via their scheduled rotations and use a quality control checklist to denote any deficiencies. Additionally, there are eyes on the park weekly through some combination of those professional landscape crews, facility staff, our park rangers, mowing and janitorial contracted staff, and our departmental supervisory staff, all of which have a duty to report any deficiencies that are identified. Staff is then tasked to address any deficiencies that they can while submitting work orders for anything that they can. All park restrooms and trash are serviced daily, including holidays, by the janitorial staff. Mowing is performed weekly in season by our contracted staff, which allows for our professional and dedicated frontline staff to perform other park landscaping and beautification tasks. Ultimately, the park supervisory staff is responsible for quality control efforts in the parks. So as you heard, this is a very comprehensive and intentional program that we've instituted for our department. The quick side note, when I applied for this position many moons ago, I had created a park condition index as something that I thought would help me get over the hump to get hired. And little did I know that Chris was going to hold me to it and actually develop a formula that we could use to systematically go through our parks. But we are very excited about the prospect of being able to have empirical data that helps guide our decisions, ensures that our staff are going through our parks in an equitable manner, and moreover, being able to identify capital improvement programs based off of need rather than a perception. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Kevin.
All right, so we've gone through this quite quickly, but hopefully you've got a lot of information. We've got a handout that'll be coming your way that gives you that index for each individual park and then how each amenity breaks down. But what I wanted to end with is that while we see some general parity among the parks, the critical element to keeping parity is this idea of maintaining what we've got through the capital improvement program. And while you see lots of line items in the CIP, there's 6 items I want to call your attention to that really make the difference in terms of maintaining the parity between them. One is the facility refurbishment, the playground improvements. The third is court renovations. The fourth is the park refresh program. And then we have an ADA compliance and a water conservation program. Those 6 really are critical to the idea of maintaining the park in its condition. But it doesn't necessarily get everything, and we know that we're behind in many areas. The park as a whole may come out in a pretty middle rating, but there are facilities or amenities within that didn't score as well. This is where we turn our attention. And so to that end, we generally have been funding this with, there's no general fund ongoing dollars that we're able to put to this. So we've been putting one-time dollars on an annual basis. But they're just that, one-time dollars. What you'll see in this year's budget proposal is the idea of using some of our bond dollars to give this a bit of a surge, give us a bit of an infusion of capital. The bond committee a couple of years ago identified about $30 million in projects in parks ready for refurbishment. We still have about $25 million of that bond capacity. And so you're going to see some elements of where this is being infused into those 6 capital projects so as to really push the needle on the park condition index. The last piece is more of a clarification element that I wanted to make sure is that new neighborhood parks are still being added, but they're being added by developers, meaning the developer has to pay for the cost and then can be reimbursed with impact fees. And this is neighborhood parks we're talking about, not the community park level. And lastly, though, as these parks come on board, in order to maintain parity, we're going to need to maintain staffing levels across the ratios for parks to make sure that we're taking care of the parks. So with that, we've presented a bunch of information. You've been handed the index. I think we left a few minutes for questions, and hopefully we're out of here in time. So with that, questions?
Thank you, Mayor. Well, great presentation. I just have a question on the last slide.
Yes, sir.
And it's good to see some park refresh across the entire city of Peoria in the CIP. And you talked about some bond authorization and everything. And I know that when you're talking about new parks in community parks or neighborhood parks being built by developers.
Yes, sir.
Is there going to be projects for a potential Paloma Phase 2 with some of that bond authorization, Kevin?
So, Mayor, Councilmember Schaefer, thanks for the question. So if you recall, the Paloma Phase 2 last was priced at $35 million. So we have the $25 million, actually it's something a little bit less than that, but it's somewhere in about the $25 million in bond authorization left. So it's not enough to move forward with Paloma Phase 2, plus the direction that we heard was take care of the parks that you have. So for the purposes of what we're going to propose, it's still a policy discussion that you all vote on, we're proposing using that bond authority to, again, infuse capital into the existing parks and improve the parity from park to park and fill some of those amenities that have fallen behind.
Just expand a little bit. No, I absolutely agree with infusing capital dollars into fixing our parks. I mean, those are services and amenities that we provide to our residents. Didn't know if there was a potential of doing some, I know we don't have the $35 million per the slide, but I didn't know if there was an opportunity to add some additional amenities to Paloma.
Again, our focus on this one was the idea of taking care of what we've got, and so that was really the focus at this point.
Okay, Thanks, Mayor.
Counselor Edwards?
Thank you, Mayor. Kevin, or maybe Chris, great information. I've seen this a couple times. I do have a question for you. So of the number of work orders per park that are outstanding, what's the average time for repair? And what's the
What you're
cost?
referring to is a turnaround time on
Yeah.
work orders? I'm going to turn to Mike, but
Mayor and Councilman Edwards, I always get that wrong, so I'll make sure I got it right. So right now, our current turnaround time, we actually base it off of 6 different disciplines. So for plumbing or electrical or even citizen-based inquiries, so they all have different times, but it's an average of about 4.5 days for a
4.5
quarter to be
days?
turned around.
Okay, and is this information available to the public as far as like the number of work orders? So if a resident were to go to the neighborhood park and notice an issue, would they be able to know that there is, say, a light was out at the basketball court? Would they know that there's a work order open for that by going to city website?
they wouldn't necessarily know that Mayor, Councilmember Edwards, they wouldn't necessarily know the type of event that's out, but they could review the number of events, if you will, or work orders. And as the CRM system gets more robust, the idea is that we are pushing those back into there so the resident can see that their work order input is being tallied through, and actually an end result is occurring with that.
Because, we're pushing, I've talked to you and Mike several times about this, we're working with residents to be our eyes and ears for issues. And how can we expect them to be our eyes and ears if they don't have the data to know that that light has been out for 6 months, or did it just happen yesterday?
It is a challenge. Mayor, Councilmember Edwards, it's a very challenging question. Obviously, when they're reporting it, how they're reporting it,
Yeah.
we're looking for a quick response so that the person who's accepting that, hey, did you know there's a light over here?
Yeah.
They can look it up and say, yeah, I'm looking right at it. There's a work order that was processed when the field crew was out there last week. Or, no, we haven't heard that, so thank you for reporting it. It's not as perfect as having some sort of dashboard, online that they could go to and check, but it's probably our intermediate step that at least as they're reporting it, we have a mechanism. Even if they send it in terms of an email, we can respond to that email and give them the update, thank them for the response, or thank them for the information, and give them a follow-up to what's happening.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, if I might, Mayor and Councilman Edwards, we will absolutely look into, I agree with what Kevin said, but we'll look into what it would take to provide real-time ability for the public to see the status of work orders that have been generated internally, in addition to the work orders that they have generated through our CRM. We're in the process of updating our CRM, as you are well aware, and as Councilmember Crawford has asked us to look into. So we'll add this to the list of functionality that we should consider in the CRM.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Patina?
Thank you, Mayor. Chris and Kevin, thank you for the report. I know that there's a lot of variables in this report. You have the year built, park condition, amenities, those types of things. Some parks are bigger, some are smaller. Would it be beneficial to this body if we were able to attach a dollar amount spent on each park? Is that something you could do for us?
Mayor, Councilmember Patina, better yet, we actually have a historical value of what to Kevin's earlier point about what amenity might be on the index that's up for replacement. So for instance, a park might have, a perfect example is we have an incident at a Braywood Park. It's basically arson, and we lost a playground. So that playground will be built new, and that'll go in the indices as a 2024 amenity update. So then that is recorded, and then that we can share with the council body.
Thank you.
I want to share something on the previous question. Most of the work orders are self-generated. So Mike mentioned the different areas, the facilities, the landscape professional staff members, the park rangers. So a lot of our work orders in the park system, the right-of-way system are self-generated. We do receive CRM record, but far outweighed by the internal work order system.
Councilmember Patina, just to point out, these three guys all like financial modeling and spreadsheets, so I'm sure they're capturing all this on a constant basis, so. Any other questions at all? Councilmember Dunn?
So we have in Acacia District, Osuna Park, but there was another park, and do we have a name for that? It's not coming to my mind if we do, that we had all that money invested a while ago on box trees, and it's over by the theater.
Mobile park.
Oh,
It's what?
The mobile park.
Is that what it's called, Mobile Park?
the mobile placemaking part.
Is that on here?
It is not.
Okay, good, because I noticed that cars were being parked on it for events and stuff, so I would hope to see that not be listed as a park.
Mayor and
Thanks.
Councilmember Dunn, that is to us, that will be relocated as downtown is developed.
All right, thank you.
With no other questions, great presentation, gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There being no further business, I hereby declare the study session adjourned. We will take a 5-minute recess, and then we will come back and start the city council.
Meet your Peoria Mayor and City Council.
Mayor Jason Beck was elected to a 4-year term in November 2022 and was sworn into office in January 2023. Mayor Beck is a Marine Corps veteran and is the founder and CEO of Tier Tactical, a Peoria-based business that provides body armor and tactical gear to military and first responders worldwide. His focus is on growing economic development citywide, strengthening public safety, and securing Peoria's water future and infrastructure. He is a husband and father to 6 boys.
Councilmember Bill Patena was first elected to the City Council to represent the Ironwood District in 2012 and was re-elected in 2016 and 2020. Councilmember Patena spent the last 18 years of his professional career with the City of Peoria as the Neighborhood Services Manager. In his ongoing service to the city, he maintains a strong interest in building and maintaining healthy neighborhoods and serves as the council liaison to the Veterans Memorial Board. The Patena family has lived in Arizona for over 30 years, with more than 20 of those in Peoria.
Mesquite District Councilmember Brad Schaefer was appointed to the City Council in April 2022 and was elected to the seat by the voters in November that same year. He previously served on the Peoria Planning and Zoning Commission and was the chair for both of the city's Bond Advisory and Charter Review Committees. Schaefer is also a U.S. Air Force veteran. He has earned his Master's of Business Administration, a bachelor's degree in Healthcare Administration, and has over 25 years of experience in the healthcare industry. He and his family enjoy spending time at Lake Pleasant or hiking the beautiful trails of Peoria.
Jennifer Crawford was elected in November 2022 to serve the Acacia District. She has more than 30 years of business and marketing experience in the private sector. With an emphasis in sales and management, she has operated small businesses, a nonprofit organization, and is currently self-employed as a consultant. With Old Town Peoria within her district, she is passionate about the revitalization of downtown. Her family has lived in Peoria since 2004, with her children attending Zuni Hills Elementary School and graduating from Liberty and Sunrise Mountain High Schools.
Palo Verde Councilmember Michael Finn was elected to City Council in 2014 and re-elected in 2018 and 2022. As a former Chief Financial Officer for the Peoria Unified School District, Finn was responsible for making sound fiscal policies that contributed to the district's success. He also brings over 20 years of additional leadership experience from his time with United Parcel Service and U.S. Airways. His family has lived in Peoria for more than 2 decades and enjoys engaging with the community.
Danette Dunn, who has lived in the Pine District since 2005, was elected by the voters during a special election held in August 2019 to serve on City Council. She was re-elected for a second 4-year term in January 2023 and was appointed to serve as Vice Mayor. Dunn is focused on transportation management and economic development growth for our city. She is the founder of an environmental consulting agency which connects businesses with environmental stewardship, awareness, and social responsibility. She also served in government relations for Republic Services.
Willow District Councilmember John Edwards was first elected in 2012 and re-elected in 2016 and 2020. He has since served the council in various roles, most recently being elected Mayor Pro Tempore in 2023. He has served as a program and project manager for a computer services company for nearly 30 years. Edwards serves on a number of boards and committees, including the Maricopa Association of Governments Transportation Policy Committee, the Valley Metro Board of Directors, and the National League of Cities Community and Economic Development Committee. In previous years, he was involved with organizations including Westmark and Homeless Youth Connection. His family has lived in Peoria since 2001, and he believes in open communication and engaging with residents to keep them involved in important city decisions. The City Council meeting will begin shortly. Thank you for watching.
Meet your Peoria Mayor and City Council.
Mayor Jason Beck was elected to a 4-year term in November 2022 and was sworn into office in January 2023. Mayor Beck is a
To the council regarding a non-agenda item, please complete a speaker request form, which can be found in the front lobby of the Peoria City Council chambers or in the tray to the left of the speaker's podium. Please place the completed speaker request form in the second tray to the left of the speaker's podium labeled Request to Speak. All speakers will have 3 minutes to complete their comments. A countdown clock is easily visible on the left side of the wall behind the City Council dais. Only items listed on the agenda may be addressed by the council. Since items presented as part of a speaker's request have not been listed on the agenda, and due to the requirements of open meeting laws, the council will be unable to respond to items presented as part of the speaker's request. However, please be aware that your comments will be noted. The speaker's name will be called to speak at the appropriate time in the order that the forms were received. Thank you for your interest and participation in the Peoria City Council meeting.
Good evening and welcome to the Peoria City Council meeting. I hereby call the meeting of January 16th, 2024 to order. Please stand for the invocation by Brian Beltramo, sports consultant and character coach at Liberty High School. And please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let's pray. Father, thank you for the gift of today. Thank you for my leaders to my left and, Lord, all the individuals to my right, God. I pray a special blessing over this meeting tonight for the council. Lord, give them discernment, give them wisdom from on high. God, specifically want to honor tonight every teacher, every coach, every student athlete in the Peoria Unified School District. And tonight we celebrate some state champions in the room, Lord, 3 individual champions and a state football championship and the 6A Open Division championship. And we thank you, Lord, for the leaders, for how hard they work as they build their legacy. And Lord, tonight we just ask you to superintend this meeting. We invite your presence here. And we ask this in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, and all God's people said, Amen.
Thank you. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mayor Beck?
Here.
Vice Mayor Dunn?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Edwards?
Here.
Councilmember Paterno?
Here.
Councilmember Finn?
Here.
Councilmember Crawford?
Here.
Councilmember Schaefer?
Present.
Council Youth Liaison Shrivastava?
Here.
Council Youth Liaison Wetstein?
Present.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. If anyone would like to address the council about a matter, please submit to a speaker request form, which is found at the entrance of the room, to the clerk at this time. At this time, we will now present proclamations honoring several Liberty High School athletes and athletic programs for their recent milestones and achievements. To assist in handling out the proclamations, I'll recognize Councilmember John Edwards. And the first will be, so you want to read it from here, or you want to read it from here?
Do you want to go down so you can
Yep.
shake their hands?
Yeah, golf first.
You want to do it first?
No. You
Want me to do it
yep.
first? You got it.
Can you guys give him a mic?
Well, while they're doing that, I just want to call everyone's attention to the fact that we've lit City Hall red today in honor of Liberty High School. So I encourage you all, as you're leaving, to take a picture in front of City Hall. We're so proud of you, of everyone's achievements, and in your honor, we've lit City Hall red.
Can you guys hear me? All right, so this is a long one. So this is a proclamation, whereas the mayor and the council of the city of Peoria recognize the 2023 Liberty High School football team for their outstanding dedication and effort in becoming the Arizona Open Division State Football Championship. And whereas the Liberty football team, pursuant to this year's championship, came after losses in the past 3 seasons in semifinal, and whereas senior quarterback Navi, I'm sorry. Ruzan won the Ed Doherty Award for the top Arizona Player of the Year. Caden Heckelman. Why don't you read this for me?
Sure.
Absolutely. I am butchering names. Please do. I'm sorry, man.
Didn't know I was having the mic tonight, but no problem. Ryan Wolfer, Braylon Gardner, Jace Gardner, John Wilson were all named 6A All-State team. Whereas Coach Colin Thomas was named Arizona High School Football Coach of the Year. And whereas participation in high school sport teaches commitment to goals, diligence, and determination, skills that carry over in life beyond high school. And whereas the city of Peoria and the entire community are proud of the Liberty Lions football program and their achievements on the field in the community. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Jason Beck, City of Peoria, in the state of Arizona, do hereby proclaim January 16th, 2004 as Liberty High School State Football Champion Day. I have set my hand. Okay, I guess that's.
You're good.
Yeah, all right. There you go.
I did pretty good at that, didn't I? So just a little token, you guys each got little lanyards that show that you guys are the AIA state champions. That's just a little token of the city of Peoria's appreciation for everything you guys have done. Do you guys want to say a little something? Coaches? Oh God, they're tall over here. I thought I was tall. Coaches? Okay, well that's it. Anybody want to take some pictures? All right, Mayor, you want to come up here?
You're supposed to be up there.
Do you guys want, yeah, you guys all want to go in? Yeah, we can all go if we want.
Don't give him ideas. Yeah, hang out. Yeah, we've got three more to do. Is Ryan Denhoff here? Ryan, come on down. So Ryan, I'm gonna read the proclamation here for you. So the mayor and council of the city of Peoria recognize 2023 Liberty High School senior Ryan Denhoff for his outstanding dedication and effort in becoming the AIA Division I state cross country champion. So today has been proclaimed as the Liberty High School Ryan Denhoff State Champion Day. So congratulations, Ryan. You want to get the other two up here? You want to get all three of we have all three of them together and then do a picture? Okay, cool. All right. Yep, absolutely. Adam Croy, are you here? So the mayor and council of the city of Peoria recognized 2023 Liberty High School senior Adam Croy for his outstanding dedication and effort in becoming the Arizona Division I state golf champion. So today, I think you know what's coming next, is Liberty High School Adam Croy State Champion Day. Congratulations, Adam. Wait, hold on. Very cool. So last but certainly not least, is Ezekiel Rayburn here? So the mayor and council of the city of Peoria recognized 2023 Liberty High School freshman Ezekiel Rayburn for his outstanding dedication and effort in becoming the AIA Division I state 1-meter diving champion. So you know what's coming next. So today, in addition to the others, today is Liberty High School Ezekiel Rayburn State Champion Day. Congratulations, Ezekiel.
In order to accommodate the next group, can I have all Liberty parents and teens exit this way, out this aisle, and down? Thank you.
You are welcome to stay if you want, but it's up to you. There's a few more spreadsheets if you guys want to help us get there. I know, everybody's like, I'm out. Can you give me my window?
I'm sorry.
They're lined all the way down the hallway. So we're going to bring them in this way instead of having them in front. Yeah. It's all good. It's all good. We're good. You know this is my favorite one. It's supposed to be what? 58. It's supposed to warm up to 58? The ranch is -10 last night.
Is it?
Yeah, it's 3.5 feet of snow that they got dumped on. And it's like, I was like, so the caretaker was like, oh, yeah, it's my. Peoria will also be recognizing those students whose artwork was selected by the city's Young Artist Program and Showcase. For that, I will recognize Peoria's Art and Culture and Library Services Director, Mary Lou Stevens.
Thank you, sir. Wow, what a night, huh? We are recognizing all the talent in Peoria, and I'm so excited to be here this evening. Mayor Beck, members of the City Council, not only do we have talent in sports and in academics, but we have incredible talent in arts, and you will see that here tonight. It is such an honor to be with you this evening as we take a moment to reflect and recognize the great partnership we've established with the Peoria Unified School District. It is quite an exciting evening to be recognizing such talent in sports and in the arts in our community. Public art is an essential component of our collective community pride, and it adds to the exceptional quality of life that we know and love here in Peoria. The City of Peoria and PUSD have worked together to advance the quality of life in Peoria through several arts initiatives. The recognition of some of our most talented artists in our community begins right here with the Young Artist Showcase. And I hope you are all saving the date for our annual Arts and Cultural Festival on March 2nd. It is a day full of visual and performing arts like no other, and it is definitely one of my favorite events, so don't miss it. We recognize that none of this would have been possible without the support of our arts educators who are in the classroom every day influencing our future leaders. Please join me in applauding the incredible teachers and the arts education in the Peoria Unified School District. If you are a teacher in the audience, could you please stand to be recognized? I think you'll be impressed when you see the artworks momentarily. We were fortunate to have the artwork of 29 artists displayed in the Pine Room of City Hall, and now we will honor the artists that were selected for the exhibit. Before we call each of them up to be recognized, I would like to ask PUSD's Director of Arts Education, Mr. Robert Panzer, to say a few words. Mr. Panzer?
Well, thank you, Mayor Beck and Council. It's always one of my favorite events to be at as well, and such an opportunity and privilege for us to be here. We are at the Peoria Unified School District are thankful for the continued partnership that we have, and it's really exciting to see so many families and so many young artists here today, as well as our principals and our educators. As the Director of Arts Education for the district, I am certainly always excited about any kind of partnership that involves the city of Peoria. As Ms. Stevens was saying, when we bring arts into our community, that is something that makes our schools better, our city better, our community better. And it's one of those things that really just fosters so much for our young students as they move on. But it's often one of those things that we think about. We think about the beauty that art brings to our lives. We think about the expression that it allows us to have. We think about how it connects us to things bigger than ourselves. But we often don't always think about the impact that it really has on our community. Nationwide, the 4.7 million jobs are related to the arts and culture sector. And you're talking about $700 billion of our economy. When you look locally here within the state of Arizona, $1.1 billion of our economy has an arts and culture kind of sector connection to it. And those connections, that appreciation, that creation that happens starts in our arts classrooms and starts with our youngest students and starts with our arts educators. And that takes place every single day in the Peoria Unified School District. It creates the foundations for success. It gives them opportunities to express themselves in different ways. It lets them connect to things that are different content areas, as well as it gives them the skills to leverage that into any kind of career pathway that they are going to have within their life. It doesn't necessarily have to just be as an artist, but what they learn in an arts classroom leverages into so many different careers out there in the world for them. We are certainly thankful for the continued partnership with the City of Peoria and grateful for the work that we do together, and we look forward to having more showcasing of our students and our artwork in conjunction with the city. I'm excited that I'm able to be here tonight to actually introduce and bring attention to all of the students whose artwork we have being showcased. And I'd love to be able to bring the students up here and help with that as well. From Alta Loma Elementary, Audrey Smith. Damari Hendricks. From Apache Elementary, Chloe May. And Liliana Torres. From Canyon Elementary, Brielle Huerta Ceja. Also from Canyon, Zoe Heaton.
That's super cool.
From Copperwood Elementary, Landon Harris. And Benicio Verga. From Cotton Bowl Elementary, Taya Espinoza. And Erica Hernandez. From Country Meadows Elementary, Sofia Garcia. And Cole Rogers. From Coyote Hills Elementary, Daisy Sanchez. And Bailey Vargas.
That's cool.
From Desert Harbor Elementary, Josie Wertney. And Emma Martinez. She's going to be an artist, you can already tell, can't you? From Desert Harbor Elementary, or I'm sorry, Desert Palms Elementary, Abigail Brunk. And Amanda Garcia Ontiveros. From Frontier Elementary, Morgan Trube. And Tristan Otis. From Heritage Elementary, Richard Torres. And Alexia Furnival. From Ira Murphy Elementary, Aliana, I messed that one, Salcido. And Angel Perez Quintana. From Lake Pleasant Elementary, Isabella Gordon. And London Friera. From Marshall Ranch Elementary, Xander Nivis. And Delilah Chavez. And certainly not, last but not least, from Oakwood Elementary, Ryan Estrella.
Okay, now we'd like to get our mayor and council in on the picture if we could for a nice group photo with everyone. If you could come down and join our students, and parents, feel free to get on up and take as many photos as you'd like. Everybody. Yeah. Squish a little. Everybody take one step to your right or your left, depending on which side of the knee you're on. Squish just a little, be friendly. Okay.
All right, everyone look up here, big smile, here we go. 1, 2, 3. All right, keep smiling, here we go. 1 more. 1, 2, 3. All right, great job, guys.
All right, if parents want to come in the middle, come in the middle. Do like 60 seconds real fast.
I want to thank all the students for being amazing artists. I want to thank the parents for raising incredible students. And I want to thank our mayor and council for supporting an incredible program that recognizes the talent in our community. Thank you all. Have a great evening.
Well, I was telling her, you were telling her, the girl that did that one, yeah, you see,
go silent. All the kids leaving, it's like. All right, think we're good. Everybody good? Ready? All right, we will now move on to the consent agenda. All items listed on the consent agenda are routine in nature and will be enacted in one motion unless requested removal has been approved. Do I have a motion to pass the consent agenda?
Second.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Please vote. And it passes 7-0. Thank you. We will now move on to regular agenda and introduce new business. The first item on the agenda will be the nomination of election of vice mayor to serve in the absence of the mayor. Council, are there any nominations for vice mayor?
Mayor, I'd
Councilor
like
Finn?
to.
Sorry.
I'm
Oh,
like-
Councilor Finn?
I will.
Sorry, either one.
No, it's okay.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going by this thing.
This thing.
Either one.
So, Mayor, I'd like to nominate John Edwards for vice mayor.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Please vote. And it passes 7-0. Thank you. Next on the agenda is the mayor pro tem. Do I have any nominations for mayor pro tem? Councilor Finn?
I would like to nominate Jim Crawford for Mayor Pro Tem.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Please vote. And it passes 6-1. So we have Councilmember John Edwards as vice mayor, and Mayor Pro Tem is Councilmember Crawford. Thank you very much. Let's see. Then we move on to regular agenda.
Thank you, Mayor. So the first item on the agenda, of the regular agenda, other than the election, is item number 25R. It's the First Amendment for 83rd Avenue and Happy Valley Road Development Agreement and Addendum Number 1, including a sales tax reimbursement for public infrastructure. Mayor and Council, economic development is an important driver for the growth and future development of Peoria and one of Council's major goals. Deputy City Manager Mike Faust will present a proposed tax incentive and amendment to the development agreement with the Trailhead Project in order to move the project forward and generate opportunities for jobs, increased amenities for the neighborhood, and a positive contribution to Peoria's economy. Mike, take it away.
Just to remind you, we were here on December 12th talking about step 1 of this process. Just to reorientate us all, this project is the Trailhead Project, which is on 83rd Avenue and Happy Valley Road. It's an approximate 40 net acre project consisting of commercial site, a worship center, multifamily. And back in 2022, the council had voted and approved a development agreement which included quality sit-down restaurants, placemaking amenities, reimbursements for some off-site public infrastructure to the tune of about $3.8 million. As Mr. Darwin had said, highlighted, one of the priorities of this council is economic development. I just want to reorientate the conversation we had last time around a key statistic that is, of the major cities in the Metro Phoenix area, that Peoria is lagging in terms of gross sales, which ultimately is impacting the revenues to the city, which makes it difficult to support the operational and community standards that we seek. A lot of that is driven by an absence of restaurants and retail establishment in the city limits. So if you live up in this area, you may know what it's like to have to drive outside of the city to go find a meal with your family, to do some additional shopping. So the Economic Development Services team has been tasked with actually pursuing development opportunities like this, restaurants, employers, and things like that. Very specifically, as highlighted in this project in the next slide, is responsibly adding jobs and revenue to the city. In your packet, which was included in the council communication, was an economic impact analysis that was done in 2022, which highlighted that this property at its full build-out stands to generate about $17 million worth of tax revenue and generate approximately 430 jobs in totality. Each project will bring new restaurants, additional retail, supporting the local economy. But there's a small situation going on. So the problem that we've seen is that the infrastructure costs of the project have gone up. So this is the public infrastructure that surrounds the area. The estimates have grown from the original $3.8 million to $6.8 million, brought on by inflationary pressures, but also some technical issues. There's a lot of watershed in the area from the mountains adjacent, a lot of storm runoff. There's multiple water lines, sewer lines that run. And we know that in the absence of additional support, that the property will not build out at the same pace and at the same scale that was originally projected. The solution that's been put forth is to use funds generated at that site to reimburse public infrastructure. And there's a provision within Arizona state law which that allows us to do that. It's ARS 9-500.11, allows for the creation of this sales tax incentive for projects just like this. So what we've devised and built into the amended development agreement, which was in the packet for you to review, is a reimbursement mechanism that says we will reimburse up to $2 million or 72 months, whichever comes first. And we'll do that by setting aside the eligible sales tax that's generated at the site and broken out this way: 100% of the construction sales tax, 50% of the restaurant, bar, and retail, and 25% of the grocery would be used, paid out on a quarterly basis, out to the developer as reimbursement for the public infrastructure that's done. That way the city generates some revenue throughout the life cycle. But a key note is if the property does not generate the full $2 million by month 73, our obligations have been met. So it's a very good way to incentivize and help the developer community, but at the same token mitigates the risks to the city. Just to remind you, we were here on December 12th. We had a 6-0 vote for the notice to adopt the notice of intent for this incentive. And then tonight, you'll be voting on 3 things. So the first one and 2 on this list finishes that sales tax incentive as defined by the state statute, which says the proposed tax incentive is anticipated to raise more revenue than the amount of the incentive within the duration of the agreement. In the packet is the third-party economic impact analysis, which says will generate $17 million across a 10-year period. And as we said, this total incentive totals $2 million, so it will generate the funds. The second is, in the absence of the tax incentive, the retail business or facility would not locate in either the same pace, the same scope, or would not locate in the city. And included in the packet is a letter from the developer confirming that, and it's been confirmed in our conversations with them as well. And then the third thing you'll be voting on tonight essentially is adopting the amendment, allowing for these things to go into place relative to the DA. So staff recommends that council approves Resolution 2024-05, adopting the First Amendment to the Trailhead Development Agreement and Addendum Number 1, including the sales tax reimbursement for public infrastructure. And with that, I'm available for any questions.
Councilor Edwards.
Thank you, Mayor. Mike, can you just, for the viewing public that may not know about the project, can you just give us just a brief update as to how things are moving out there? I noticed there are some buildings going vertical out there, so can you just give us a little bit of a progress report?
Mayor, Councilmember Edwards, thank you for that question. Yeah, if you've been by the site, you've seen a lot of activity. The Safeway is under construction. It is targeting, they're trying to have it open by the start of the school year, next year. So there's a lot of activity, but that is the only site being built. I can say that there was a pre-application for a Chick-fil-A on that site. So we know there's other interests. We know that there's been a lot of interest from the community. So this is one of the reasons why we're anxious to get this in front of you for consideration tonight, so that way we can secure the support to the developer to build this out at full scope.
So just to reiterate, so there's very little risk to the city from a standpoint of expending dollars because they have certain thresholds that they have to meet in order to recoup that money.
Mayor, Councilmember Edwards, yes, that is true. I think putting the time limit that we have on this particular agreement and the construct of breaking out for each transaction privilege tax type is a good cushion, a good way to mitigate risk for the city. And also highlights a very powerful tool. This is these types of tax incentive tools are things that the city hasn't used before. but we've seen other municipalities use throughout the city, and I think, or through the Metro Phoenix area, and provides a good opportunity for us to leverage this tool into the future without exposing ourselves to undue risk.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions from council? Seeing none. Do I have a motion to approve agenda item 25R?
I will motion.
Do I have a second? Second. Please vote. And it passes 7-0. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you all.
So, Mayor, moving on to agenda item 26R, it's to authorize a water infrastructure finance authority loan to construct a reservoir/booster pump station. Securing Peoria's water future is another of council's major goals, and this next item is part of this effort. Chief Financial Officer Sean Kendall, along with Civil Engineer Jennifer Soames, will present information on a WIFA loan for council's approval to construct a reservoir and booster pump station in the north part of the city. Sean.
Thank you, City Manager. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for having us here to present this financing opportunity for you. Jennifer Soames is our engineering supervisor. She is also the project manager for this project. So she's going to just walk through briefly where we're at with the project and what's going on with that, and then we'll come back to the financing itself.
Next slide. So thank you, Sean. Good evening, Mayor and Council. As Sean said, my name is Jennifer Soames, and tonight I'm here to provide some information on the project that this WIFA, or Water Infrastructure Finance Authority loan, will be used to construct. I believe that this is a project that you are all familiar with. It is the Zone 6E Reservoir and Booster Pump Station, since given the permanent site name of Sunset Vista Reservoir and Booster Pump Station. If you recall, this is the water facility that will store and distribute water from the 5 wells drilled with the CAP LPP Wellfield project that the city has already secured a separate WIFA loan for and approved by council last August. The Wellfield area is bound by Loop 303 to the south, the Central Arizona Project or CAP Canal to the north, and just west of Lake Pleasant Parkway. The Sunset Vista site itself is shown on the screen, and it will be just south of the CAP and about 700 feet west of Lake Pleasant Parkway. As a reminder, the combined projects will provide critical system redundancy in the event of any surface water curtailment from CAP, as well as prepare for future growth in the area. The new site will include a 2.5 million gallon regional storage reservoir, an initial phase of capacity for the northern pressure zones, zones 5E and 6E, on-site pipelines, disinfection system, and all necessary electrical, instrumentation, and control equipment. Next slide. The first phase of the project began about a year ago with a pre-design, pre-construction services contract with our selected design builder, Felix Construction Company. This is where a lot of the early unknowns and questions were fleshed out before detailed design could begin, as well as coordination with our Wellfield design build team. Then last June, our former engineering director, Adina Lunn, was here before you for approval for the next phase, or phases 2A, 2B, which includes detailed design, long lead procurement, and early construction. And so it is safe to say that the project is well underway. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Sean to discuss the details of the WIFA loan.
Thank you, Jennifer. So for this project, the total project cost on this is just a little over $23 million. We were able to obtain, thanks to the mayor and others, $10 million from the state toward this project, which left us with about $13 million to finance on this. I think, as I mentioned before, we have several options when we look at financing, but for water projects, using WIFA loans is always a good option to have. With that, so we contacted them. The WIFA board approved the project for a loan. The loan would be, right now it's set at $13,088,000. It would be a 20-year loan. The estimated annual debt service will be somewhere around $1 million a year. We don't know the actual interest rate yet for the loan. That'll be set at the closing of the loan. But we do know that WIFA offers below market rates and that the rate will not exceed 7%. In fact, we expect it to be well below that. So with that, we are recommending approval of Resolution 2024-06, authorizing the execution and delivery of the loan agreement.
Any questions from council? Councilor Finn.
Thank you, Mayor. Just one quick question. I'm assuming if it does go above 7%, then you would come back to council?
Yeah, we would come back or
Okay.
just not go forward with the loan
Okay,
at that point.
okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Do I have a, council, do I have a motion to approve 26R?
Move to approve.
Do I have a second? Please vote. And it passes 7-0. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So we're moving on to Agenda Item 27R, which is a discussion and possible action to approve a budget amendment in the amount of $2.2 million from the contingency to allow for the initiation of a design concept report to report update for the Lake Pleasant Parkway, Loop 303 to State Route 74, capital improvement program project funded in the adopted fiscal year 2025 capital improvement program. So Peoria is a growth success story, but at times growth raises complex issues. The Lake Pleasant Parkway is an example of that and needs to be assessed in terms of increased development and rapid growth in the region. Acting Director of Development Engineering, Dan Nissen, will present a budget amendment for council's approval to initiate a design concept report for the corridor of the Lake Pleasant Parkway from Loop 303 to State Route 74. Dan.
Thank you, Mr. Darwin. Good evening, Mayor, Council. It's nice to be here this evening. As Mr. Darwin mentioned, the item before you is a budget amendment for the Lake Pleasant Parkway project. I just want to clarify, first of all, that the CIP already has funded this project. It's programmed in years 25 through 27. So the budget request this evening is to forward the FY25, some of the FY25 funding to FY24. The DCR update, which is a study that we use to determine the alignment of the roadway, will provide a recommended design alternative, update the estimates, and provide an implementation plan so we know how we're going to build this project. Just a quick project overview. Lake Pleasant Parkway between Beardsley Road and the 303 has been widened to 4 lanes previously. So there's only one section of the parkway that has not been widened, and that's the 303 to State Route 74. The current roadway, if you've driven it lately, is a rural cross-section, 1 lane each direction. The majority of the land adjacent to the parkway is undeveloped and owned by the State Land Department. The last time the design concept report for the Lake Pleasant Parkway was updated was in 2010. And that study is almost 14 years old. So we've had some changes that have occurred out there. Specifically, we've had some new development, convenience store up by State Route 74. We've also had some utilities, put facilities within the parkway that wasn't planned in 2010. And we're concerned that some of the major stakeholders that will work with us on updating this study have changed their design standards and requirements, such as Central Arizona Project and Arizona Department of Transportation. We've also identified a critical need to accelerate the design. And in order to accelerate the design, we need to complete the design concept report. As I mentioned earlier, the design concept report will lay out the preliminary and final alignments for the roadway so we know what is going to be designed. So some of the major points that we need to consider is what's happening at the CAP crossing. In 2010, we developed 8 alternatives for the structure over the CAP. And since we've had preliminary conversations with CAP, they no longer are accepting of our 8 options that we developed back in 2010. They want us to start over. So we know we've got a number of stakeholders that we'll need to coordinate with. In addition, as you saw in the previous project, we have some upcoming water CIP infrastructure projects. There'll be some additional water lines, 2 water lines, a reclaimed water line, and a wastewater line that'll be constructed on Lake Pleasant Parkway. Back in 2010, we only anticipated 1 water line and 1 wastewater line. So we want to make sure we get a proper corridor established for all the utilities, not only the city utilities, but the non-city owned utilities, so we can avoid utility conflicts. And then lastly, we know we're projecting some growth in the corridor, so we want to be able to accommodate the anticipated traffic volumes. Some of the elements that'll be included and looked at in the design concept report, as I mentioned, one will be the final alignment of the roadway. We'll also look at an interim cross-section for the roadway, say 2 lanes each direction and a bike lane. We will also look at the ultimate cross-section of the parkway, 3 lanes each direction and a bike lane. We will also look at access management, future median breaks, and traffic signal locations for the parkway. Drainage will be a big issue that we have to look at. Not only will we look at drainage for the roadway itself, but we have to consider where the water comes from off-site. Where does it come from as it sheet flows across the desert? How does it impact the roadway? How do we collect it and protect the roadway and take it to the nearest washes? We also, as I mentioned, have to deal with the CAP bridge. Not only what are they looking for in the design and avoiding their structure, but how do we accommodate the future trail that runs along the CAP? And we have to consider the aesthetics of the bridge. As I mentioned, we have some utilities that are going to be out there that we didn't anticipate in 2010. So we'll work with our city utilities and also the non-city owned utilities. And then one of the most important, we have to work with Arizona State Land Department. We have to determine the right-of-way needs for the project. We also have to determine the easement needs, what public utility easements, what drainage easements, what slope easements are required. We'll also look at the environmental requirements for acquiring the land. And we will have to work with other stakeholders. We know there's a couple other studies going on in the area. Maricopa Association of Governments just kicked off their study for State Route 74 between I-17 and Grand Avenue. One of the items that they are looking at as part of that study is to realign the intersection of New River Road with Lake Pleasant Parkway to create one at-grade intersection with the traffic signal. Today, those 2 intersections are about 700 feet apart. And I know we've had some accidents out there, so we really want to coordinate that project. And then we've been working with the Flood Control District of Maricopa County. We've been working to update the North Peoria Area Drainage Master Plan. So we'll make sure that what we do with the parkway complies with that master plan. As I mentioned, the project before you is already included in the CIP. You can see that the design is in FY25, land acquisition, which is the right-of-way and the easements in FY26, and then construction in FY27. The amounts that are in the budget currently are based on our most recent estimate. The DCR will give us more current estimates once we understand exactly what's going to be built. So we're asking tonight for a budget amendment in the amount of $2.2 million from contingency to the Lake Pleasant Parkway 303 to 74 DCR study update, and and move the 2025 funding to FY 2024. That concludes my presentation, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from council? Seeing none. Do I have a motion to approve item agenda 27R? Do I have a second?
Second.
Please vote. And it passes 7-0. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The next item on the agenda is a discussion and possible action to approve a purchase and sale agreement and a post-closing possession agreement for property located at 8795 North 83rd Avenue. You'll see a map, and it'll become very clear where this property is located. But sometimes it makes sense for a municipality to acquire property in order to preserve open space, create amenities, and/or spur revitalization of a particular area. This next proposal fits with that strategy, and Assistant City Manager Rick Buss will present a purchase agreement for the council's approval. Take it away, Rick.
Thank you, Mr. Darwin, Mayor and Council. Good evening. Brief presentation on the opportunity in front of us this evening. It's purchase of property off of 8795 North 83rd Avenue. That is on the west side of 83rd Avenue between Olive and Northern. So an overview on purchasing property by the City Council. First of all, requires City Council approval. It's governed by Article 1, Section 3 of the City Charter. It also, the City Council policy, CP31, governs the process. It does require an appraisal, and that's important. So before staff can even start discussion with a seller, we must get an appraisal. And the maximum that the city can offer is 10% above the appraisal. So a quick property summary. As you can see, as Mr. Darwin said, where you see the blue diamond there is currently an HVAC pest control business. It was listed back in March of 2023 at $1.5 million. There's been at least 2 offers made. There's been a lot of inquiries. I've had a lot of discussions with the broker of the property. The last offer was for $1.5 million, and that was for a 3-storage facility with no financing contingencies, meaning that they didn't have to go and wait for financing. They could have just written the check. They ran into some technical constraints, to borrow a phrase from our planning and zoning director, Chris Hawkes, and that fell out of escrow. I had, when I originally reached out to the landowner and the broker, I said, if it falls out of escrow, give us a call. He gave me a call and said that they are willing to have a discussion with us. Some other potential buyers have been a used car lot, auto repair shop. There's even been an auto auction. So it is I-1 industrial zone, which gives a wide variety of uses that can go in there. And it's surrounded by Pioneer Park, so there's really nothing to the north, south, or west besides, east besides Park. So this gives an opportunity to obtain what I call a continuity of use with Pioneer Park. The appraisal came in at $1.1 million. The purchase sale agreement that's in your packet is for $1.21 million. There's also a post-closing possession agreement, very common thing in real estate. You see it a lot in commercials, for real estate, for residential. Sell your home, you can stay for free for a while, that type of thing. Well, that's not uncommon in commercial real estate. So it is up to 270 days. They are going to pay a fee of $5,400. There's also a hold-back agreement for $25,000. And the big one for us is they assume all liability while they're there. So the city does not assume any liability whatsoever. And with that, the recommended action is to approve the purchase sale agreement and the post-closing possession agreement, and I can answer any questions.
Councilor Finn.
Thank you, Mayor. 2 quick questions. I don't see the size of that property in here. What's the approximate size of that piece of property?
Mayor, Councilmember Finn, it's 1.1 acres.
1.1 acre. And is there any more granularity to continuity of use, like exactly what we're planning on doing with the 1.1?
Yes, sir. I mean, I think the thought is to have our Parks and Recs department look at possibilities of what they could do there, bring it back to council on potential uses. There's no design or that type of thing at this point in time, but we would bring it back. The idea here is just to grab the property while we can There are other people that are looking at the property.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilor Patina?
He asked my question, Mayor, so I'm good. Thank you.
Councilmember Crawford?
I don't really have any questions. Thank you for the briefing. I just want to say thank you for pursuing this opportunity. You mentioned the word opportunity a couple times, and I think that is 100% what this is. It's an opportunity for us to acquire this parcel, and if anybody has been in that area, you can see it is completely surrounded by Pioneer Park, and that's why I think this is such a critical move for us. I can't even imagine if there were some of those other industrial uses built or a 3-story structure. So I just want to thank you for pursuing this, and you have my support.
Any other questions? I have one fund. Does this come from like the strike fund, from like economic development strike fund? Is that where the funds would come from?
It's going to come from the contingency fund, which is a perfect reason to use a contingency fund when you have unforeseen opportunities like this.
Okay.
Sir.
Any other questions? No. Do I have a motion to pass 28R? Do I have a second?
Second.
Please vote. And it passes 7-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is call to the public. As a reminder, each speaker will direct his or her comments to the members of the governing body and not to any individual member or any individual present. Each speaker will refrain from personal attacks, foul or abusive language, and will maintain a civil or courteous manner and tone. Members of the audience will respect the rights of others and will not create noise or other disturbances that will disrupt the meeting. With that, I have Ms. Shannon Simo. Am I pronouncing that the right way?
Hello, everybody. My name is Shannon Simo, and I have lived in the city of Peoria my entire life. I grew up in South Peoria, and now I live in North Peoria. The issue that I would like to discuss this evening is the TSMC plant, which I understand doesn't have anything to do with you guys, but the Amcor plant does. It is 10 miles from my house over a mountain, and through research from their own documents, there's a lot of pollution and a lot of water usage. And I know that with the packaging plant, that also brings up a lot of issues pertaining to pollution. So in the area in which I live, you guys continue to discuss the water problems, the draining problems, and those types of issues. I also know that the amount of water that is required for these type of factories is abundant. And while I understand, I'm sure that it's been examined and whatnot, my concern lies when they filter that water, where do all of those contaminants go? There has to be somewhere that you guys dispose of them, but none of that's ever discussed. And in one of Amcor's, I think it was like an SEG report or something to that effect, the biggest issue that they have in terms of a pollutant is lead. And so if there's a leak or an accident or any of those things, it's very close to my house. My concern lies that if there's a leak that goes and say a sensor doesn't go off because life happens, machines aren't perfect, how is that going to affect me as a homeowner? I bought my house in 2010. It was all state land trust. State sold it off. So now we're in a position where we're going to be landlocked by a lot of factories where I live. And if you've ever been out there, the Sonoran Desert is really beautiful, and I feel like there isn't enough appreciation for the fact that people who moved up there weren't looking to have a bunch of factories and things there, and it was a vision that you guys had, but not the rest of us, and no one asked. So my main concern, like I said, is the pollutant levels, and they have talked about the lead and whatnot, and then the TSMC plant is full of its own issues. The amount of people that are coming in is out of control. Everyone's coming in on visas, and they're building houses to accommodate it, but we don't have the land area for it. I don't know if any of you guys live there, but it's starting to feel really, really crowded. And it's difficult to get around. And with that Safeway center that you guys are building right there, That was like the worst idea ever. If you guys put a Chick-fil-A in there, we will never get down that road. It is bad enough as it is. 67th Avenue is a nightmare. So I am requesting that you put all of these things into consideration, especially the people that live in the area, because you are bringing a ton of people into an area that is very small. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Ms. Eva Osuna?
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
I welcome 2024, and I wanted just to give you a little tidbit before I talk about what I really hear. This is 70 years that Peoria was incorporated. It was incorporated in 1954, and my mother was one of two people that gathered data for the census, so it's significant to me. So happy birthday for Census 70. At any rate, I'm here because I have reached out to the council in an email, and I was asking about the park that's proposed. I learned a little bit about parks and how they work tonight from the presentation. It is the park that's being entered into like I forget what the term is, but it's being shared by the city and the developer of that American charter school. And I've asked several people about it. There's very little information. Are we going into that agreement? And I understand now, I have my notes in my phone, that there's neighborhood parks and there's public parks. So the neighborhood parks apparently get funded partly by the developer. I think that's what I understood. So is this park going to be funded by the developer of that school? Because that company has made $37 million. Why are we going to pay for that? So there's no information about it. I'd like to get more information. And unfortunately, when I called my council person about stuff like this, she tells me she's not getting information. She's not being given information. And essentially what's happening is when you don't give her information, you're muting 30,000 people in the Pine District. And I'm one of them. And I want to be able to call my representative, I've called several others too, and ask, what's going on? There's something going up over here on 91st Avenue in Peoria, and I called and I said, what are they building? There's a fence around it, there's signage, I don't know. But my representative should know, because when I make a phone call, I expect, since we voted her in, for her to have answers. So hopefully, in 2024, things will be a little different. We'll move forward with some grace, and it's okay to disagree. We just have to respect each other, period. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Thank you for your comments. Phyllis Gerner.
Thank you, Mayor Beck and council members, for the opportunity to speak. My community is constantly installing more grass, drip systems, and plants, which increases our community water bills and additional landscaping costs and attracts more geese, which we don't need. One example is one area block where our community just installed over 150 new plants and additional drip systems. I walked it and I counted them. So several years ago, residents suggested the board install xeriscaping, but that was ignored. I would like to encourage the city to implement a more proactive approach to inform planned communities about water conservation. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, ma'am. Last but not least, Mr. John Forsyth.
Glad we kind of ended the meeting with some cost overruns. Mayor, Council, I am John Forsyth. I've lived in the Mesquite District since 2009. I want to remind everybody, 3 minutes isn't a lot to be politically correct. A couple of months ago, I started entertaining a run for Congress. So in the past 60, 90 days, I've spent a lot of time talking with people. The exact reason I'm here is last December's meeting. Now, I'm going to talk about the police helicopter, which happens to pull very badly. People really just don't understand why the city doesn't have a cost containment on this thing. So let's recap this. It was presented to the people as pretty much a done deal. It really wasn't for the benefit of the people, it was for the benefit of the government. Well, in a democracy, everything is done for the benefit of the people. The officials that came up to speak about it really couldn't even ask some simple questions. Mr. Finn asked a lot of questions, and they couldn't answer simple questions because, well, they didn't want to answer them because it has to deal with costs. Now, in a democracy, democracies don't exist in darkness. The people, you know, the same people that elected you, need to know information. Without information, we can't make educated decisions. And when the government refuses to tell us information and just jams down our throat, well, this is what we're doing. We had two courageous members, Ms. Dunn, Mr. Schaefer, that stood up for the people and said, hey, we need more information. I know, Mr. Schaefer, you asked some very specific questions on costs, cost overruns, what do we expect? But that was all muted for a shiny new toy. I mean, I have to remind you, a fourth grader can tell you this. Democracies exist for the benefit of the many. They don't exist to tickle the fancy or the egos of the few. And I see this helicopter as just one example of this city council losing touch with the people's morals and values of this community. If the people don't want something, that means you guys don't want something. It's plain and simple. This isn't a dictatorship. We don't do what we want to do. This isn't a personal business that we get to run however we run it. We're all together in a community trying to live together, but when we can't, when we're having problems on the council, and if you think that the people don't know that there is some tension on this council, you're mistaken. It's obvious. There were some good questions, and then it kind of tried to get shut down because we wanted to get that new toy and park it at our new regional airport, which doesn't have a lot of support either. You know, run this like a democracy. It's not being run that way right now.
And the city manager's report. Oh, I'm sorry, sir. Yeah, sure, absolutely. Go ahead and put him on the timer. What's your name,
Can
sir?
I do
Say-
that? Just take about a minute?
It's okay. State your name and.
Yeah, my name is Ron. I want to congratulate and commend Ms. Dunn from last September. He brought up some issues about democracy versus autocracy, this kind of thing. Ms. Dunn, I appreciate your courage and integrity to stand up to Mr. Beck and the other people who signed the letter to ask you to resign, also the attempt to have a private session to knock you out of your office. To the citizens of Peoria, that looks like a violation, Mr. Beck, of your campaign promises.
Pause 1 second, sir. So again.
About.
Pause 1 second. I'm going to let you finish your time. I'm going to stop his time for a second. I'm going to let you finish your time.
Okay, and I'll be brief to wrap up.
That's okay. I'm not going to stop you. You still have 2 minutes. What I'm going to pause you on is, again, do not attack or go towards each person. I don't mind if you want to say something negative about me. I have no problem with that. The issue is address the entire council as a whole and address the issue as a whole. Thank you.
Okay. And to the council, it's important that citizens know that you're above board and transparent, that you're not trying to do something in some back private session to knock out a council member because of some of the power struggle you have, which seems petty to the citizens. And it looks like corruption, and it looks like autocracy. I know that once the investigative journalists of Arizona Republic got on that, got the information, it was on the news, it was on the radio, and exposed that it wasn't successful because also it was a situation where the council, did not follow its own rules and procedures either. So that makes it, you're almost looking like a lawless gang who wants to knock somebody out of their duly elected office. So I would like to commend Ms. Dunn on her integrity and courage, standing up to the corruption and unethical conduct and frankly dishonesty and lack of leadership that some of these council members had, and that they were not successful of improperly. And when I mentioned Mr. Beck, I remember going to a campaign event when he talked about being above board and transparent is going to be a campaign promise. So let's be true to serving the people of Peoria and not serving yourselves. And when you have those little corrupt appearances of not being above board and transparent, nor following your own rules, I want to commend Ms. Dunn for standing up for herself and making sure that those intended consequences that some had that ill intent to make happen did not happen. I think it's a good example and a good lesson for all of you on the city council. Everybody who signed that letter, that petition, it was very unethical of all of you. Thank you for your time. I do appreciate it.
It's okay. Thank you for your opinion, sir. Report from the city manager.
Thank you, Mayor.
Hold on, pause 1 second. Anyone else? Just checking. All right. Report from the city manager, please.
Thank you, Mayor. So I want to start it off with a citizen commendation for one of our officers. So our professional standards unit received a citizen commendation for Peoria Police Motor Officer Brady Cox, who was conducting a traffic enforcement detail on Northern Avenue near 107th Avenue. The citizen called on behalf of his family member as she was stranded with a flat tire. Officer Cox stepped into action and did not hesitate and provided her with assistance. According to the citizen, Officer Cox was extremely kind, and it was much appreciated. Way to go above and beyond, Officer Cox. Sticking with the public safety priority of Mayor and Council, I'd like to recognize and highlight 4 of our fire and medical team members who completed their specialty training in December. The Peoria Fire and Medical Department is an all-hazard fire department and now has 2 members joining the technical rescue team and 2 members joining the hazardous materials team. These members are Liz Denhart for hazmat, Colin Morse for hazmat, Brandon Booth for technical rescue, and Ivan Ibanez for technical rescue. We wish them the best of luck in their new positions with Peoria. So moving on to economic development, our team of economic development professionals follow a disciplined process that includes lead generation, qualifying those leads, generating prospects, qualifying those prospects, and finally locating them here in Peoria. It's actually a pretty long process. We call this process leads to locates. This chart is a snapshot of recent locates here in Peoria, some success stories in Peoria. In addition to absorbing over 315,000 square feet of commercial industrial space, these locates also represent over 200 jobs and $75 million in capital investments in our city. Great job, guys. So along that same theme, I wanted to announce that we're excited to welcome some new restaurants to the P83 area and to host the first Fox Concept dining establishments in Peoria. These are Blanco Taco, Cucina and Cantina, North Italia, and Postino Wine Cafe. It's great to have them here in Peoria for the first time. Another project that will be an economic driver for the city is the Honor Health Medical Campus at 15,000 North 83rd Avenue, and construction is moving along quickly, as you can see from this picture. On the water security front, Peoria may have an opportunity to purchase new water rights. Salt River Project, in combination with numerous other parties, is proposing to increase the height of Bartlett Dam. Some of you may have heard of this. This will capture the runoff in an above-average years and provide opportunities for additional water rights to municipalities like Peoria. We've made an aggressive application to be allowed to purchase 5% of that new capacity. This would provide enough water for 12,500 new households in Peoria. Unfortunately, this won't be inexpensive, but given the rarity of new water in Arizona, it really represents an amazing opportunity. We still have a lot of ways to go, but I will continue to keep you informed as this progresses. It's just another example of our commitment to water security. This is where I'm going to get awfully technical, but this is actually a really big success for us. In December, the Public Safety Personnel Retirement System released its annual actuarial report for fiscal year ending in 2023. Both the police and fire pensions are now above 80% funded. This is a big deal. The Government Accounting Office in 2007 noticed that any pension plan above 80% is considered healthy. This is a monumental change considering police was at 54% funded in 2020 and fire was at 66%. This is absolutely due to the purposeful commitment by the Peoria City Council to dedicate additional contributions to these retirement plans, in other words, to contribute early. A $30 million contribution in 2021, followed by a $5 million contribution in 22, and a $6 million contribution in 2023 is a huge show of support for the men and women that protect the city of Peoria. State law, we're not done yet. State law requires 100% funding by 2036, and we were on pace to be fully funded by 2029. But PSPRS has lowered the discount rate from 7.4% to 7.2% in 2024 and 7.1% in 2025. Without additional lump sum contributions, I'm getting to the punchline, I promise you. Without additional lump sum contributions, our projected date of full funding is now 2031 versus 2036. Great accomplishment for us. Despite this, it's a good moment to celebrate that our public safety plans are back in the healthy category. So it's very technical, but actually really big news. Kevin, when he heard the news, I think came running into my office with a big smile on his face, and I have to be honest, I still don't completely understand why he's so excited. But maybe some of you in the audience do.
He was jumping up and down.
He was very excited.
Literally
His bow tie was spinning. Last but not least, we're going to try this again. I've been guaranteed that, Jared, right, this video works. Okay, all right, well, I got to give the lead in first. For those of you who watched the progress of the demolition of the old non-functioning fountain in front of the City Hall, we have a cool time-lapse video created by our office communications team that shows the entire process in just 30 seconds. Now that the space is level, we will invite public input after the first of the year, now. This was supposed to happen a couple of months ago.
In December.
And an online public meeting process for the look of the new City Hall's entry plaza, as I affectionately refer to as City Hall's front lawn. So you see the final product out front, lit in red in honor of the Liberty High School's successes this year. But I'm going to hit play, and we're going to hope to see the video. Nice job, guys. Nice job. Nicely done. With that, Mayor, that's all I have for tonight.
All right. Youth Council Liaisons.
Thank you, Mayor. At the Youth Advisory Board meeting on the 9th, the board discussed the committee and board goals, and there was a lot of positive feedback towards that. And one of the events we are looking forward to is this Thursday, January 18th. We are hosting our second annual Teen Debate Night at Rio Vista Rec Center from 6 to 8 p.m.
All right, thank you, Mayor and Council. And so far this month, the Youth Advisory Board has had many opportunities to volunteer and be involved with the community. One of the most notable events was our involvement in MLK Day, where we came together with our community to celebrate equality on Saturday. With February coming closer, we're also able to look forward to Youth Government Day, and we're finalizing our last details to help engage our younger community. Thank you.
How many eighth graders do you expect this year?
I believe we are getting involvement from every PUSD school with a small group, but I'm not exactly sure what the average is.
How many? 300? That's excellent. It was a huge group last year, so that's awesome. All right, so the next is Mayor's Report. Do we have anything on screen? We do. We'll see if this works. I believe in you. All right, so hope everyone had a wonderful Christmas and New Year's. I wanted to thank everybody from Peoria Police Department, Fire Department, ASME for their generous and successful overall holiday event that we had from every level. We had the Day of Giving, which was an amazing event, and we had, I think it was 1,700, was it? 1,800 families from across Peoria that actually were able to come in, and we were fortunate enough to actually walk children through and be able to get toys and then be able to get them wrapped. It was an amazing event the first year I was involved, last year. It's been going on, that was its 8th year this year, right? And this year was, it was even bigger. It was absolutely amazing. Lots of people in the community came out, and we're going to hopefully grow it even larger next year. So thank you for everybody who was involved. The ASME crew was amazing throughout the entire process, and you can really get to see a lot of people's hearts and how they actually give to other people in the community, not only of a gift, but also just time, energy. And it was an overall fun event. Next year, we're going to try to make it a bigger event and actually try to get more involvement from city employees and just overall just try to make it a larger event for our overall city. And there's nothing like giving to somebody else. It's pretty amazing. So. January 9th was National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day. I want to take the opportunity to thank all the brave men and women that serve our communities. January 15th was MLK Junior Day. Thank you for hosting an annual event. This is my third one that I've come to. It's absolutely amazing to actually see people come out in the community for this. One of the things that we need to remember is this week, Martin Luther King had the courage and conviction to inspire all generations across the board, not just from his own race, but from everybody. It actually showed a process, time, and place of how you could actually serve one another and actually do it with grace, do it with conviction, and actually have differences with other people and be able to share those convictions and be able to try to solve problems throughout that. And I think that's one of the most important things that he left with us. As we've had an amazing 2023, 2024, believe it or not, is to be expected to be even greater. We've had some amazing things on the horizon that we will be bringing to council and bringing in front of council over the next couple of months. And the next year is going to be very dynamic for the city of Peoria. And we get ready to go into budget season here pretty quickly. I know certain people are really excited about that, back with the bow ties. And, and it actually becomes a really fun time for planning. As we look at the budget, we actually get to envision what the future of Peoria is for everyone. So thank you with that, and we are adjourned.